Necessity is the mother of invention. Now, why do I say this? Well, we're just out of a pandemic over the last number of years, and then something else on a global scale happens, and you just think it's going from one global issue to another global issue, and will these global issues ever end? And I'm sure this makes a lot of businesses anxious, right? It really does, because it's going to be a lot of impact going down the line. There's going to be impact in many different countries on many different levels, right? So with that, I always like to see and keep an eye on what are the biggest issues with businesses on a global scale today, because I always believe no matter how difficult things are getting on a global scale, there's always something you can do. And that's why I say necessity is the mother of invention, because it forces you to think differently and be lean and be value driven and mitigate waste. So the 6 things that I've researched recently to see what are the biggest issues affecting business today. One is complexity, and I've just talked about supply chains, making sure that you keep things as least complicated as possible. There's nothing wrong with complexity, because that's the nature of life at the moment and business. But it's when you make complexity complicated, you overcomplicate it. And it's one of the biggest issues I come across in business. They've made complexity overcomplicated. So complex is fine, but reduce the complication of that by making it simpler under the hood. Don't overthink it. Keep it lean, keep it simple. And we talked about supply chains, and yes, supply chains and globalization, they sort of go hand in hand. Like, we go further afield to get our supplies because we can buy in bulk and get cheaper, but there's the impact on delivery and lead times. But now there's another one, because lead times and delivery is being impacted by this global situation. So it's always important to have a backup plan where you can have local suppliers and work with local companies. Yes, they may be a bit more expensive, but does it help you keep flow in your business and flowing to your customers and keep everything going? Maybe not the same rate or the same cost, but it helps you keep moving. You're not stopped. It keeps that conveyor belt running. And another one that's always big on the agenda is uncertainty in the workplace. People are anxious. There's a lot of anxiety, unknowing what's happening, and that can feed all the way top down and bottom up. Leaders can be anxious as well. But guess what? It's important as a leader to ensure that you keep this sail and the ship running. You keep your people motivated, and that comes with really strong motivation and communication with your teams. Ensure they're highly engaged. You're all in it together, so make it work together to make it better, right? So make sure you keep that glue in your business, that is the people, right? Another one, and we're in this world of governance and regulation and policy, and again, this is always going to be more tighter and more tighter and more tighter all the time, and governments are making things more complicated in business, right? So again, this is adding to the complexity that I've already talked about. But guess what? Do not overcomplicate it. Make sure you tear these regulation documents apart if they apply to you, and make sure you understand them implicitly. Don't just keep doing something and add factors of safety, as we say in Ireland, to be sure. Make sure you implement these regulations and policies as lean as possible, so you can keep moving forward whatever you need to do. And then again, the big one that always crops up is strategic thinking and problem solving. Two of the biggest things you need to understand in your business, because things change. The only constant in business is change. Everything changes at the moment. So you need to be thinking on the fly all the time. You need to keep analyzing, is your vision relevant? Has something in the marketplace changed, or the global scale changed, that you need to pivot or change or tweak or do something with? And then if something goes wrong, how do you problem solve it to ensure that you can get over this little hurdle? It's not a roadblock, it's just a hurdle. So they're the key things that I've researched, have seen that are the biggest issues in business today. But as I said, there's something you can do about every single one of them. You can turn the dial a little by little on each one, and when you do turn the dial a little on each one, the cumulative effect compounds to something really substantial. So again, while you believe and see things and it's making your business and people anxious, there's always something you can do. And hopefully, as I said, necessity is the mother of invention, but hopefully you can learn better ways through these tough times that you will employ and sustain long term so you can sustain the gains. Hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, please get in touch. In the meantime, this is Shay saying have a great day.